Good morning. It's a beautiful day in Fairfield. Welcome to the bi-weekly podcast every Tuesday and Friday mornings at 8:30 right here from the RJ on the Air studios in downtown Fairfield. Forgot I had that up. I'm Mark Turner, that's Claire Vaughn, and Dave Rigg is back with us.
Yes, good morning.
Sporting his patriotic tie.
Yeah, I wear this all the time whenever it's Memorial Day weekend or 4th of July. I used to wear this when I worked for Neil's Funeral Home. If we had a funeral for a veteran, I would wear this. So.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
Very patriotic.
Very nice.
Did you attend the Memorial Day services yesterday?
No,
in
I
town,
stayed
or
home
did
yesterday. I
you?
was working on things that I needed to work on. So
Yeah,
I missed that.
I don't blame you. We didn't make it out either, but I know Wayne County Now, I think, covered the one here in town in
Right.
Fairfield, and then they also went to, was it Wayne City that had
Yep.
one as well?
Right.
Wayne City, you
I
bet.
think Double D live streamed that one. So, yeah, I always like those. And I love driving by and seeing all the flags out.
I know, it's
and
beautiful.
So beautiful.
Wasn't
And
downtown beautiful with the flags this
Yeah.
weekend?
Have
Just
you ever been
gorgeous.
through Albion when
Yes.
the flags are out? That is beautiful there. It's gorgeous. And they've got lights on it all the way around the square
Yeah.
for nighttime.
I think that actually is kind of what inspired Fairfield to, do the same thing on the courthouse and stuff because it is. It's so beautiful. They do a great job. Love it. Well, and before we went on air, we are celebrating a special day today.
Right.
48 years ago today, you married your wife. And, I know she's passed away, 2017 is when she
Yes,
passed
2000.
away. So, but it would have been 48 years today. So what a thing to celebrate.
That's a milestone.
It
We were
is.
married here in Fairfield by David Dean at the First Baptist Church.
Okay.
Back then. And it's kind of hard to go through a wedding anniversary when the spouse is not with you, but
Right.
it brings back good memories.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I posted some pictures on Facebook of when we got married. So
Oh, I'll have to get on there and look. That's great. So what else has been going on, Dave Rigg?
well, my big hobby now is doing research through history, through the old newspapers and so on, and come up with interesting stories and write them up and then post them on Facebook.
You're a regular subscriber to the Bone Gap Chronicle, aren't you?
There used to be a newspaper
Really?
in Bone Gap. Yeah, it was called the Bone Gap Progress. That was back in the early 1900s. And, Bone Gap was a very prosperous little town at one time.
Yeah.
We had a bank there, had a funeral home, 3 or 4 grocery stores, 2 or 3 cafeterias, a big grain elevator, all kinds of businesses there in Bone Gap. And now there are only 2 businesses left in town. There is a soda pop machine and a candy machine.
Oh, so you have a convenience store.
No. Well, it's a dispensing machine.
Every time I drive through Jeff, I'll drive by that little kiosk they have with the candy machine, the soda machine. Oh, I said, look, there's somebody at the convenience store.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess you could say it's a convenience store in a way. Yeah.
That's funny.
And, of course, everybody that's with me will go, where?
Yeah, where?
Store? Where? I don't see any gas pumps. I was like, no, they don't have gas pumps.
Just snacks.
Yep.
Yeah.
As long as you're laughing, that's all that matters,
That's
right?
right.
Even if
You
no one
got
else
it.
gets your jokes.
That's right. that happens to me a lot, though.
Yeah.
I'll say something like, what are you laughing about? Didn't you get the...
Right.
No, we didn't. I was like, okay, well.
And we all made it safely through the weekend with all the bad
man.
weather.
Yeah.
It was a lot rougher down south.
Yeah.
I mean,
It got pretty hairy here for a while.
yeah.
In
I
some
had,
places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a nephew lives in Goreville and works for a roofing company. Well, after the storm hit Lake of Egypt area, he got called out because they were having to cover up roofs.
Right.
Well, they got down to the area where that tornado hit, and they got turned away. Too many rescue vehicles and workers.
Wow.
Said, you cannot go in there right now. So, I mean, it's
Wow.
crazy. There are some areas down there still without power.
There was a section of 130 there just at the north edge of Albion that was closed.
I saw that, yeah.
Because power lines went down out there near the old Albion Cemetery,
Yeah.
near Pine Street, and so traffic was shut down out there for a while.
Yeah. Fairfield, there was a lot of power outages around the area.
Yes, there were. Somehow we didn't lose it on the
Yeah.
East Highway,
I
which
don't think I wasn't home this
downtown
weekend.
didn't. Yeah,
But,
downtown didn't either.
None of the clocks were blinking when we got back, so I'm assuming we didn't lose power.
Yep. I know Wayne County Now was broadcasting the weather,
Yeah,
and they
right.
were using RJ on Main, and so they were very thankful that we didn't lose power downtown,
yeah,
so they could
right.
continue their broadcast. And
By the way, and I am thankful for those two guys and your facilities making it possible.
Well,
There were a lot of folks in this area that were watching by the little,
Yeah.
comments posted in
oh
there.
yeah, I know it's something that's so needed in this area, and the guys do such a great job and devote a lot of time to it. And
Right.
I think Dustin's done an awesome job with the setup and getting the different information on the screen, and it's very informative, and you can tell they're passionate about it and they like doing it.
It amazes me they can use all that technology to do
know.
all that, put all that stuff together and
I
know what
know.
buttons to push,
Right.
click on to make it show up there on the screen.
Yeah.
Normally I watch Channel 14, but they were spending so much time covering what was going on down in Kentucky and not even worrying too much about what was coming our way. And so I just quit watching them and stayed right with Dustin and Derek here on RJ on Main.
Well, we appreciate you watching. I kind of was checking in and here and there, and
We got to come up with a nickname for that duo.
yeah,
Derek is Double D.
Right.
We added, maybe it'd be Triple D.
Triple D.
Yeah. Well, we might get into trouble with Guy Fieri on that.
Yeah, maybe. Triple D. I like it. So we were talking about history, and that's kind of your pastime, and you like to, and I always enjoy going on your Facebook page and reading your stories that
Right.
you recount from times that have gone. But what's a fun story that you have about Fairfield that maybe not everybody may
I've got a
know?
bunch of them, Claire. That's why I don't think we can even cover here in one appearance today with all the stories that. Not too long ago, someone said, "Why don't you publish a book?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, two reasons. First of all, it's very expensive, and usually anyone who has a book published ends up losing money." I had a good friend who published a book on a guy who was born and raised in Bone Gap and ended up pitching in the major leagues and struck out Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and all these different Yankees. He published a book on him, and he lost over $5,000 because the books just didn't sell like he thought they would. So that's one reason I haven't done it. But secondly, I'm always coming up with a new story. And so if, let's say I published a book today, had one book, well, anything that I would uncover and write up after today couldn't be in the book.
Right.
And so any temptation I've had about publishing a book has always been pushed aside by the fact that I keep coming up with new stories that I'm uncovering and going through old newspapers.
Well, that's true. There could always be a volume 2.
Right, right.
Yeah.
We could always continue on, but you should do like a local history podcast.
Well, I thought about that too. I guess I haven't been too serious about it
Yeah.
because it's on Facebook. One story I wrote here just recently. Do you know how Wayne County got its name?
I do not.
All I know is Mad Anthony Wayne.
That's it.
That's
it.
all I know, and I've heard that story. I probably heard it from you.
Yeah.
Actually.
Well, I published it here on Facebook here a couple of weeks ago, or maybe just last week. But here's his story. He's Anthony Wayne. He was born January 1st, 1745 in Pennsylvania. As a young adult, he owned a tannery and extensive property in Pennsylvania. When the Revolutionary War broke out in January of 1776, Wayne was commissioned a colonel in the Continental Army. Wayne was put in command of Fort Ticonderoga, New York, and promoted to the rank of brigadier general in early 1777. And that fall, Wayne led forces in the battles of Brandywine, Paoli, and Germantown, Pennsylvania. He spent the winter at Valley Forge encampment, December 19th, 1777 through June 1978. Of course, that's a period that's marked, with General Washington and the troops at Valley Forge. Well, Anthony Wayne was there. Anthony Wayne's successful storming of the British fort at Stony Point, New York, July 16, 1779, gave a huge boost in morale to the American armies, who up to that point had been losing a lot of battles to the Redcoats. Wayne earned the name Mad Anthony because of his tactical boldness and his personal courage in the field. In September 1780, when it was learned that Benedict Arnold had planned to betray West Point to the British, Wayne moved promptly to safeguard the fort, so he stopped that loss of the fort.
I bet that made him pretty mad when Benedict Arnold turned.
Yeah. Well, he became an enemy of Benedict Arnold at that point.
I thought when you said how he got his name, I just thought you were going to say, well, he went somewhere and somebody made him really mad.
No. It was the way he had his tactics.
Yeah.
He was very bold in his leadership of the American Continental Armies against the Redcoats, that some people thought maybe he was a little bit over rambunctious and took too many risks.
A little crazy, huh?
And kind of mad, Anthony. Elected in 1790 to the Georgia House of Representatives, Anthony Wayne served nearly 2 years before his seat was declared vacant because of election frauds. As American settlers involved into the Northwest Territory in the years following the American Revolution, their advance was opposed by an alliance of Indians. The Shawnee and the Delaware joined the Ottawa, Ojibwa, Miami, and Potawatomi in the Northwest Indian Confederation, and led by Little Turtle, the Native American Confederation skirmished with settlers and Kentucky militia in the late 1780s. I could go on and tell more about some of the things that he was involved in.
How did he get to Wayne County?
Well, really, he really didn't spend that much time specifically right here. I can't say that he ever lived here in this county, but he did lead a lot of the American militia that was formed. George Washington, the president at that time, placed Anthony Wayne as the general over all of the militia that were raised to try to put down Indian uprisings and eventually drive the Indians out of this territory. So he would have been involved in military skirmishes with the Indians here in the state of Illinois, but I cannot find any proof or indication that he ever really spent much time right here in the land that we know of as Wayne County. So, but anyway, Wayne's reputation was scrutinized. He had been condemned for holding slaves and for his tactics under Washington's policies during the Northwest Indian War. In the book Unlikely General, historian Mary Stockwell wrote, Wayne was a spendthrift, a womanizer, and a heavy drinker, and some considered him impulsive, bad-tempered, and aggressive as military leader with a fiery personality. And because of his holding slaves and because of the way he treated American Indians in persecuting them and driving them out, there are a lot of people today who would say Anthony Wayne should not be honored in any way. But he is here in Wayne County because, first of all, the county's named after him. And also, you've got the Anthony Wayne American Legion post here, and the VFW post is called the Wayne Memorial VFW post.
I didn't know that.
So, the two veterans organizations here in town are named after him.
Okay, I knew it was the Anthony Wayne Legion post, but I didn't know it was the Wayne Memorial
Wayne
VFW.
Memorial VFW post is what it was called, or it may still be called that as far as I know. So that's how this county got its name. It's named after the Revolutionary War general, Anthony Wayne. Mad Anthony Wayne was his
Mad
name.
Anthony Wayne.
So,
Very interesting. I had no idea. I remember hearing Mad Anthony Wayne, but I
yeah.
didn't know all that went into Mad Anthony.
yeah, and he's not even buried in Illinois. In fact, if I've got it here somewhere, I think they took him after he died, Oh, and that's another thing I forgot, because I didn't read all this story that I wrote about him, but he did have one general who did not like him and was trying to undercut him, and it's believed that Anthony Wayne was poisoned to death. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, they believe his death was because he was poisoned by the guy who was his rival, and he was eventually buried in Pennsylvania at St. David's Episcopal Church in Wayne, Pennsylvania. That's where his body is in.
Now, is Wayne, Pennsylvania named after Mad Anthony Wayne, too?
I guess so. But that's the story there, is that James Wilkinson was the name of the guy who was the rival for prestige in General Washington's army in the fight for revolution. And so that's the case. Is there's no definite proof that he's the one who poisoned him, but he did die from poisoning. And so
Seems a little suspicious, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and here's another thing.
There's a little bit of circumstantial evidence there.
When Anthony Wayne died, now get this, his son dug up the body in 1809, had the corpse boiled so the remaining flesh would come off the bones, and then he took the bones of his father, put them in a saddlebag, and drove and had them reburied to where they are now in Wayne, Pennsylvania. So I thought that was kind of interesting to boil the flesh off of your father's corpse.
So was his son, was he mad too?
Well, I would kind of think so.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
If the shoe fits.
Some guy poisoned my dad, I'd be kind of mad.
Yeah, for sure.
Mentioning the fact that this is the wedding anniversary for me and my wife, and when we got married till death do us part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this story I'm going to read to you now, it's a short story, I can read the whole thing, is not about a couple from Wayne County, but I think a lot of people would find it interesting. So I'll just read this the way it goes, the way I wrote it up and posted it on Facebook. When a man and woman fall in love and choose to marry, a deep devotion and commitment can develop as years go by. It's sad when one of the couple dies, leaving the spouse to live alone, like it has happened for me. Mm-hmm. To avoid that happening, some have hoped that they would both die on the same day. Sometimes tragic accidents such as a car crash or a plane crash have made it possible for that to happen. I know of one couple who died in their sleep due to asphyxiation from a malfunctioning flu. That did happen here in Wayne County. I knew that happened. They were both found dead in their bed. Yet both the husband and wife dying on the same day is not common. Mm-hmm. But here's the story. George Flower, who, by the way, was one of the founder of Edwards County, married Jane Dawson June 7th, 1809 in Lancaster, England. George came to America with Morris Birkbeck in 1818 and eventually settled in Edwards County. George married Eliza Julia Andrews February 15th, 1817 in Vincennes, Indiana. That was not a legal marriage because he was still married to Jane Dawson, whom he had married back in England. So he was charged with bigamy. So Eliza and George got married again in Edwards County March 18th, 1836, after his divorce was final from his wife Jane back in England. In the latter part of the month of December in 1861, George and Eliza Flower made a visit to their daughter, Mrs. Rosamond Agnew, at Grayville. George was 73 and Eliza was 70, and their daughter encouraged them to stay with her. Early in January 1862, they were both taken sick on the same day. After an illness of 1 week, they both died on the same day, January 15th, 1862. What is so remarkable is the fact that they had often said to each other and to their family and friends the desire that they might pass away together. Mrs. Flower died at dawn, and Mr. Flower breathed his last at twilight in the evening.
Wow.
And they were both buried in the same grave at Oak Grove Cemetery at Grayville. But they both died within hours of each other.
Well, you hear about that ever so often.
Yeah.
I know my grandparents, my grandfather passed away, and it wasn't a month later my grandmother passed away.
Right.
I mean, you hear that a lot,
Yeah.
but hardly ever on the same
On
day.
the same day or at the same time. Like you said, except for those accidents, where plane crashes or that type of stuff were to happen. But oh my goodness, very neat story.
Hair standing up on your arm.
I'm actually a little chilly in here. I cranked the air down before because it usually gets so stuffy in here.
Well, I wasn't talking about because of the cold.
I know. You saw me
earrings and-
rubbing my arms.
Yeah.
That's why you said it.
Well, here's what I didn't read to you about that story. At 10 o'clock of the last day, the attending physician pronounced Mr. Flower out of danger, and there seemed to be every appearance of his speedy recovery. It was not till the afternoon that the family ventured to announce to him the death of his wife. Listening to the announcement with the utmost composure, there was soon noticed a sad change for the worse, and although his bedside was surrounded by his family, he passed away so quietly and peacefully that no one was aware of the exact moment that he expired.
Wow.
Man.
And that's a good way to go too.
Really, you know.
Where you're not in pain and you pass quickly and quietly.
Everybody always
and-
they want to pass away in their sleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, being a pastor for 30 years, I've seen a lot of people die. Working at a funeral home for 10 years, I've been around it quite a bit. And it is hard for any family member to see a loved one really suffer in the end. My wife, she battled cancer for 7 years before her death was coming near. And I was able to bring her home from the hospital and set her up in my and that's why you had the people from the hospice here, and I copied that and put it on Facebook because I want more people to realize that if you have a loved one who doctors have said that's all we can do for this person, there's nothing else that can be done to help him or her, and death is near. Hospice is something, not everybody can do that.
Right.
Not everybody can have a hospice bed set up in their home and be around there if they have to work, because someone has to be there, whether it's the other spouse or a son or a daughter, someone like that. Someone has to be there because hospice people, they don't stay there 24 hours a day.
Right.
Usually the hospice nurse comes in twice a week. On days that the nurse doesn't come in, a CNA comes in to do like a sponge bath and change the sheets and so on in the bed and so on. But if it's possible for someone to be there, I would recommend that someone who gets in that situation of a loved one who's about to die to think about hospice, because it is something special to be able to be with that person. And I know my wife, I think she was glad that she could spend her last days in her house rather than a hospital or in a nursing home.
Yes, definitely. My grandma and grandpa both had hospice at the end of their lives, and my grandma was at home in their sunroom, and it was, wonderful. And then my grandpa was actually on third floor, so he was in the comfort care room on third floor while he had hospice. But they're amazing, amazing people, and it's something people don't want to talk about and don't want to think about, the end of life. But highly recommend. We had great experiences with SSM Hospice. And
we did too when my father-in-law passed away.
They're amazing people. That job is not for the faint of heart.
Well, I also lost a stepson to a brain tumor before Pat died.
Wow.
And he went to the third floor of the hospital and spent his final days up there.
Yeah.
And it's good because, I don't know you've been there, so you know what it's like up there. But on the third floor, there's the bed there for the patient, but there are also couches and chairs and kind of a mini kitchen there for you to fix, and people the family can come and go. And so if hospice is not something that can be done, that what do they call it? Comfort care. That's not.
Yeah, skilled care.
Skilled care. Up on the
skilled
third
care,
floor at the hospital is very handy for a situation like that.
Definitely. And they have amazing nurses up there too, and I just can't speak highly enough about them. And that new facility up there, it's beautiful.
We have a really good hospital.
I
We're lucky.
Yeah.
I haven't been in there since they started all the opening up of what had been built there recently.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's
Go and check it out. It's really, really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the window air conditioners in the skilled care unit, you know.
Right.
Now it's central air, and the rooms are nice and comfortable, and you know everything's just new and fresh and clean. And but yeah, it's a really nice building and great place for sure.
Well, you've got some good doctors here because any hospital has to have good doctors on staff, to be successful, because the
Right.
doctors and the nurses are the backbone of any hospital.
Yeah, I've been impressed from the emergency room doctors all the way to the doctors that are here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the family practitioners, I guess.
Yeah. Definitely. I think we have like 24/7 surgery care here too, which is crazy. But all right, well, you want to go into the weather?
We can.
Mark.
You know, it
Do we
looks,
got any more crazy weather coming up?
well, maybe over the weekend.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure. It's going to be beautiful this week. 79 today, 75 tomorrow, 76 on Thursday. Friday is going to be the warmest day of the week. 80.
Wow.
Sunshine every day. And then
Love
maybe
it.
some rain for Saturday and Sunday. So there you go. That's it. Beautiful start to the morning, though, man.
Do you guys have much yard do you have to mow
Nope,
at your places?
not anymore.
So you're definitely in town with a small yard then, huh?
I don't have a yard at all.
You don't have a yard at all.
Nope.
Well, that's good. How about you?
I do have a big yard, but the only mower we have is a 0-turn, and I have not figured out how to operate it yet, so I'm not on the mowing duty.
So your husband has to
Yeah,
take care
my
of that?
husband and my sweet in-laws, they help out a lot. My husband works sometimes out of town and works long hours, and so they just live 2 doors down, you know, so they'll pop over and mow for us sometimes too. So, but yeah, I keep telling them.
Good neighbors are hard to find.
I mean,
I mean,
seriously,
you feel
we
very
borrow,
lucky.
you know, more than flour and sugar sometimes. I'm like, hey, I made spaghetti and I forgot to
You
check
think
to see if I
anybody
had
really
garlic
does-
bread. Can I have some? You know?
Really does that anymore? Borrow a cup of sugar from their next door neighbor?
We do, but
You
maybe
do?
it's just because it's family.
How
I don't
many
know.
people? How many people can actually say that they know their neighbors anymore? I mean, a lot of times you don't even know who you live next to.
Right.
You might see them in passing as they go out the door or something, but you don't have the big cookouts like neighbor cookouts like you used to have.
Yeah. Well, where I live, I'm probably an eighth of a mile away from my closest neighbor, but they're close enough that if they don't see me coming down the lane for a while, they know they better come check on me or something, And I've got a son who checks on me too.
Yeah.
But I've got a good neighbor just down the road from me, and they do a lot of things. See, I live about an eighth of a mile off the main road, 1-lane gravel road up to my house, and there are cedar trees on each side of the lane. And these storms that come through always scare me that it's going to blow down one of those trees in the lane and block me in. So they always come up and check to see if any limbs need to be replaced or so on like that. But I've got some good neighbors too.
There's always the sawzall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were at my mom's a couple weeks ago, and she says, "Can you trim up some trees for me?" I was like, "Sure, no problem." I got a friend who's got a chainsaw. I said, "Nah, you got a sawzall? That'll work."
But some of these cedar trees, if they go down, a sawzall can't handle those.
Yeah,
Because
some
they're,
of them pretty big. Yeah.
they're big around and so on. So it takes a good chainsaw for that. But anyway.
All right. Well, we're going to do some birthdays and anniversaries really fast. Let's see. Today is the 28th. So happy birthday on the 26th to Stacy Cooper, Shannon Arview, and Christy Stum. Happy birthday today to Rita Matthews, Vanessa Vinson, and Charlie Vaughn. And happy anniversary to Bill and Jan Kent. Tomorrow, happy birthday Terry Stahl, Josh Starlini, Jimmy Musgrave, and happy anniversary to Melvin and Robin Donahoe. On the 30th, happy birthday to Robin Donahoe, Tammy Lee, Marcy Caldwell, Craig Zerlini, Zach Hill, and Thomas McDaniel. And on June 1st, happy birthday to Chelsea Harrington. If you guys have birthday or anniversary submissions, please send them to rjontheair@raylanjames.com. I'm going to go into some events real fast. Every Thursday at 6:30 a.m. at RJ on Main, we will be having yoga class.
How'd it go last week?
It
Big
went
crowd?
okay. It wasn't a big crowd, but I think they had a great time. I wasn't able to make it. My
What do you do at a
babysitter
yoga
bailed on
class?
me. Just
Well,
different
you-
yoga positions.
You
and-
yoga.
Yeah, you yoga.
You yoga. That's what you do at yoga class. You yoga.
Bring your own yoga mat, and it's just a really calming, peaceful,
Kinda like a stretching type of
grounding.
deal?
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
stretching and
Kind of like the Twister game.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
right
Home.
foot on red. Yes.
Home.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is at 6:30 a.m., not 6:30 p.m. We did have someone miss last week because they thought it was in the evening.
Oh.
But yes, every Thursday, 6:30 a.m. So come and join us for that. Also, there will be a pork burger and pork chop sale. The Fairfield City Fire Department is having that on the Saturday, June 1st.
You can't go.
By
wrong
the way,
with
that's
that.
another story. Do you know how pork burgers got started?
I do not.
Would you like to know?
Sure.
It started in Albion at Pork Day USA. Just
You know,
short.
there are probably some people in Fairfield's going to argue with that.
Well, pork.
We started it.
No, actually, they had just started the Pork Day USA celebration in Albion. I don't remember what year it was. If I had my stories here, I could tell you. But Bob Mason, who was the Farm Bureau director at that time for both Edwards County and Wabash County, wanted to come up with something new to serve that year at Pork Day. And somewhere they had heard about somebody who was mixing sausage in with some burger to create a pork burger. And so that year, for the first time, pork burgers were grilled out and served there in Albion on Pork Day USA. Again, I can't tell you the date, but that's in one of my stories.
Very interesting.
And from there it spread. It was served at Albion Pork Day USA, then at the Pork Ag Days in Mount Carmel the same year, and then it spread out all over.
It took off with a vengeance, for sure. My dad was up this weekend, and that was on my to-do list for him. He wanted me to go to Save-A-Lot and get him some pork burgers to take
'Cause-
back home with him.
Because there are places that they don't have pork burgers.
No.
No,
And
Well,
like
some
growing-
people won't eat them either.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they're missing out.
No, I've had some people that from up north in the Chicago area, they say, "I don't want to eat pork burger. That sounds terrible."
Yeah. It's like some people
pretty
don't
good.
like peanut butter sandwiches with their chili. That was something living
Yeah.
in Carbondale. People, even an hour and a half away, they'd never heard of that and thought it was absolutely disgusting.
So do you dip the peanut butter sandwich into chili?
Oh, yeah.
See,
Oh no!
I'm learning.
Oh, it's so
See,
good.
I wasn't a peanut butter and
Right.
chili person. We always did grilled cheese
Yeah.
with chili, but I'm learning.
Yeah, it's
So you do-
I'm evolving.
Do you dip the cheese, grilled cheese into chili too?
Well, yeah.
heck yeah.
Fritos.
I don't know that I
in the
wanna do it.
chilies.
I
you
do
know?
like Fritos in it, yeah, and some sour cream, shredded cheddar on top.
Crumble up a bunch of crackers in there.
Yeah, crackers are
See, I don't
good,
do
too.
that.
No, I don't do that either. But I've seen a lot of people do it.
Yeah, I don't put as many. I mean, I see people that will crumble up half of a package, and it just
Yeah.
gets so thick. I'm like, how are you even eating that?
I know.
Do you put macaroni in your chili?
I've never done that, but isn't that like the Cincinnati
That's a
way?
Cincinnati thing,
Yeah, or
yeah.
spaghetti, or no, but chili
Oh.
mac, I guess.
You know what?
sounds
Speaking of putting crackers and stuff, you know what I did yesterday?
good.
We were at a cookout, Memorial Day cookout. really,
Right,
you know.
right.
But had homemade ice cream.
Yeah.
Had to have some saltine crackers with my homemade ice cream.
Okay, I do like sweet and salty.
Yeah.
That's good.
Did you ever make homemade ice cream with the crank
Churn?
that you had to crank it yourself?
Not unless I had to.
It's easy turning when you first get started, but as that ice cream starts forming up,
Yeah.
it gets a little tougher to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to sprinkle the rock salt in there in the ice and
Mm-hmm.
keep it going like that. Yeah.
Good
Been a while, but I
stuff.
remember doing that quite often. Then we got, the automatic thing, the electric motor that you set on top
Right.
there. So,
Makes it a little easier.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it does. So what else we got going on this week?
All right, so back to the pork burger and pork chop sale. That is Saturday, June 1st, 11 a.m. at F&B parking lot. Marshall's going to be there. Marshall from the Paw Patrol. Enjoy lunch and drinks with the family. Kids can explore the safety house and take a photo with Marshall and the fire
Now,
truck.
which one is Marshall?
He is the fireman.
Oh, the fire. Come on.
The Dalmatian.
Okay, just you got a
Right.
bottle of water. Just throw it.
I'm
going
going
to
to edit that out. Just no.
please, and thank you.
Oh, also, we have second Saturdays. The next one's coming up on Saturday, June 8th, 11 to 4 at the city parking lot east of the post office on Delaware Street.
That is a fun day.
It's so fun. Inflatables, dance parties, sidewalk chalk, food vendors, even regular vendors. Trying to think. But thank you to Libby and the Chamber for hosting that. Mark your calendars and come out for a good time. Farmers Market 2024 opening days coming up on Saturday, June 8th at Bless Bloom's Flower Market. It's going to be every Saturday until September 21st, starting on June 8th. So shout out to Alyssa for hosting those. It's always a lot of fun. She has great vendors. Also on June 8th, we're going to have a sand volleyball tournament at the Sports Zone. It's actually Mule Nation sand volleyball tournament. So if you want to get your teams in, it's $20 per player, 4 versus 4, co-ed. You can Venmo the Sports Zone. We got to get a team together, team or two. Also, Encanto Interactive Movie Nights coming up at Willow Creek Venue. That is on Sunday, June 9th. Doors open at 2. Show starts at 3. They have VIP seating for $20, open seating for $15.
Now, interactive movie?
Interactive movie night. Says all ages are welcome. Children must be accompanied by adult. Popcorn and drinks are included in the ticket price. So I'm imagining like, the characters of Encanto are going to be there and interacting with the kids and that type of
That's
thing.
cool.
So, yeah. We are also having Canning for Beginners at RJ on Main on Saturday, June 22nd. That is hosted by Great House Grazing Acres. If you're interested in learning about canning, preserving your own food, not sure where to start, this is the course for you. There are limited spots available. I think we have maybe 10 spots left for that event. So if you want to come to that, be sure and get your tickets now. You can book them online. Go to Facebook and click on the event, Canning for Beginners. Pickleball players of Wayne County present pork burgers and pickleball coming up on June 22nd and June 23rd. This is $35 plus $5 per event, but it's a men's, women's, and mixed doubles. They want you to register early. Space is limited. You can call Suzanne Webb to ask any questions. It's going to be at Lakeside Tennis Court. And shout out to Suzanne and Kathy Book for hosting this. Pickleball is crazy right now. Everybody
Have you ever played
loves it.
pickleball?
I have played a little bit. We played it in high school. That was one of the sports they taught us. PD taught us pickleball.
There's a pickleball channel.
Oh, is there
on
a
my
pickleball
TV.
channel
No,
now?
I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
And I heard somebody told me yesterday that pickleball and cornhole are being considered for Olympic events coming up.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
it. It's really,
I see a lot of
taken off.
cornhole tournaments
Oh yeah.
on the ESPN
Well, I think
channels.
there's a
and so-
professional cornhole tournament.
Yeah, there is.
League.
There really is.
I saw the craziest cornhole boards this weekend at that wedding. They had this like curve to them. It's like it started out and it kind of just like curved up. I'd never seen anything like it.
No, I've
throw
never
it
seen
and they
anything
like,
that either.
I know the cornhole boards are, bags boards is what I call them, but normally they're straight,
Yeah.
diagonal, I guess. But they had a little weird curve to them. They looked cute,
Okay.
and people were playing on them. I did not try it, but
They look cute.
they looked cute.
That's
they were
a mark of a good game.
They were
That's a cute looking game.
aesthetic, Oh, goodness.
Visually pleasing. huh?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So when's the Fall Fun Fest going to be held here in Fairfield?
So it is.
It's a week later.
It is a week later than it normally is.
Why is that?
Well, it's hard to get the equipment. By the time they went to book the carnival rides and stuff, it was already booked for that weekend. So it's going to be September 18th through the 21st, 2024 this year. So luckily they found out pretty quick that it was going to, be a week later. And so they let everyone know really quickly so they could book their class reunions and Airbnbs and all that stuff. So.
Well, let me share with you just a brief, quick story here about what happened one year for the Fairfield Fall Fun Fest.
Okay.
This goes back to the year 1916. 26-year-old Fred Kirby of Flora called himself the Human Fly. He was known as Daredevil Darrell. The big event for Monday, September the 4th, was Fred Kirby climbing to the steeple atop the Wayne County Courthouse building in Fairfield. This wasn't Kirby's first attempt to climb a tall structure. He had given climbing exhibitions in St. Louis and other large cities. He had also spent 3 years as an acrobat at circuses. So a large crowd gathered at the courthouse square in Fairfield. Kirby began his climb and reached the tower part of the building with ease. A problem developed when he reached a recently painted section of louvers on the clock tower. Losing his grip, Kirby slipped and fell. His body bounced from the lower roof and landed on the ground. He suffered several serious injuries, and it was feared he might die. Kirby was carried to the Brown Hotel on the north side of the courthouse square. I wonder how many people remember the Brown Hotel.
That's where Joe's Body Shop was, right?
No.
Okay. So.
No, it was on the north side of the square.
Okay. So then, see, I don't know.
I don't know what's over there now. Anyway.
Wasn't it like the old jail or by the old jail?
Yeah, that's where the jail used to be.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Doctors treated him for a few days in the hotel front sample room. Kirby continued to be a crowd attraction even as he suffered from his injuries while in the hotel. A large front window made it possible for curious persons to look in at the seriously injured man. In about a week, Kirby was loaded on a train and taken to the home of his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Alfred Kirby, in Flora.
They're all walking by. I can just see it.
Really?
They're all walking by, looking at the window, going, "There's that fool that tried to climb the courthouse."
So anyway, that's the story of Fred Kirby, the human fly who attempted to climb the courthouse square tower for the big attraction for the Fall Fun Fest on September the 4th in 1916.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Man,
funny.
That's crazy.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, what else we got? You want to do some?
Before we get to the trivia,
Yeah.
I found this.
Okay.
Because, yesterday was the official start of summer, or
Yes.
unofficial start of summer,
Right.
or whatever. Anyway, these are things that you'll never hear a true Southerner say.
Okay.
She's too old to be wearing a bikini. We don't keep firearms in this house. Come to think of it, I'll have a Heineken. Has anybody seen the sideburns trimmer?
Oh my gosh.
You can't feed that to the dog. Let's see. No kids in the back of that pickup truck. It's not safe.
Right.
Do you think my hair is too big? I'll have grapefruit instead of biscuits and gravy.
Oh my gosh.
And our final one, give me the small bag of pork rinds.
Those are southern things for sure.
I tell you, we were traveling down south a few years ago. And we decided on the weekend, we didn't have anything to do. We decided we'd go to this little restaurant bar. They had karaoke going on.
Uh-huh.
Karaoke was incredible, by the way. But they were making homemade pork rinds.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And you know how you go to a Mexican restaurant, you get chips and salsa? You went to this place, you got homemade fresh pork rinds.
Interesting.
And did you get something to dip them in?
I think you did.
Yeah.
I think you did, but you didn't need them.
Right.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, yeah. They just melt in your mouth.
I don't know. I guess I need to try them. I've just, I
I've
haven't
not been
tried
too-
them in a long
I've
time.
had them, but I'm not too crazy about them.
Oh
Yeah.
no, a pork rind. Pork rind's pretty good,
They were-
especially when it's warm.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, pork rind's not the same thing as cracklings, is it?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit difference.
Yeah, there's cracklings, which is more deep fat fried hog fat, but
Pork rind, I think, is pig ear.
could be. I'm
I
not
think
sure.
maybe. I might be wrong. I don't know.
I am
Somebody
not
chime in on the
sure,
live chat.
right?
Let us know.
What
All right.
are pork rinds?
So what do you have for us for trivia?
Okay, since this is Mule Nation that you folks do all these games on, the trivia today is about mules. And,
Okay.
and I'm going to make it easier for you because, with the exception of the first question, it's all true or false or multiple guess.
I don't even know what a mule is.
Oh,
Except it's the mascot,
Right.
to Fairfield High
But
School.
that's not good
No.
for the guy who's the play-by-play of the Fairfield Mills and doesn't know what a mule is.
I mean, I think it is. I think it's like a cross between a horse and a
Well,
donkey.
okay,
or
here we
something.
go.
I'm
First question
not
is,
really sure.
what do you breed together to get a mule?
A horse and a donkey.
A mule is the offspring of a male donkey and a female horse.
Okay.
So you got a donkey jack is the male, and the female is the mare horse, and that'll get you a mule. Now, the cross of a female donkey on a male horse is called, this is multiple guess,
Just wrong.
A henny, B, a jenny, C, a minnie, or D, a benny.
Well, a benny is them little pills you take. or somebody that wants to loan you some money and charge you like 50% interest. That's benny. I think it's a jenny.
I'm going to say henny.
That's right. A, it's henny. A henny is the offspring of a male horse and a female donkey. All right, here's a true or false question. If you breed a mule to a horse, you get a mule. True or false?
If you breed a mule to a horse, not necessarily, because it depends on if the horse is male or female, right?
No.
False?
True. Since you're saying false, I'm
Yeah.
going true.
The answer is false because mules are 99.9% sterile.
Man, am I 0 for 2.
So
am I shooting the 0 for today?
Oh, in rare circumstances, a mule has turned out to be capable of siring an offspring, but 99.9% of mules are sterile.
So you're saying there is a chance?
Yeah.
Just a very, very small chance. Another true or false question. Horses eat less and live longer than mules. True or false?
Eat less and live longer.
Horses.
Horses. False.
I'm going to go with true.
The answer is false. Mules eat less and do live longer than horses do,
Man.
as a rule. Okay. Another true or false. Mules are unintelligent, stubborn animals. Mules
True.
are unintelligent and stubborn animals. True or false?
Well, you're saying true. I'll go with
Yeah.
false.
Answer is false.
Hey,
Actually,
Figured it was a trick question because
no,
that's the stereotype, right?
Yeah.
Of the mule.
and I can tell you this because I've owned mules.
That is mule profiling.
Right.
Mules are more sure-footed and hesitate to do anything that might harm them. A mule's intelligence and common sense also means that they are more cautious and aware of danger, making them safer to ride when crossing dangerous terrain. I want you to, if you ever watch Westerns on TV, you see if it's a cowboy and Indians are fighting and they shoot the Indian and he falls and the horse falls with him, or if the cowboy gets shot and he goes down and the horse goes with him. In the movies, they can make those horses do that. But a mule will not do that because he's afraid he'll hurt himself if he falls. So mules are more cautious. I know people call them stubborn, but it's because if you can't convince a mule that what you're asking him to do is a sensible thing to do, he won't do it. Okay. True or false? Mules were used in World War I and World War II as pack animals in combat. However, they are no longer used in the military. True or false?
I'm going to go with true.
I'm going to say true also.
False.
Oh.
The U.S. military used more than 10,000 mules to carry weapons and supplies through Afghanistan's rugged hills to Afghanistan camps. So they're still using mules.
Huh.
True or false? Mules can kick sideways.
Sideways.
In other words, they can kick straight back, but can they kick off to the side?
I'm going to go with true.
I'm going to say false.
The answer is true. An angry
I'm catching
mule,
up.
I know.
an angry mule can kick both backwards and to the side. True or false? The horse has more strength and endurance by far than the mule. True or false?
False.
I'm going to say false, too.
False is right. Mules are more resistant to parasites and disease, require less feed for good health. Generally speaking, a mule can carry more weight than a horse because of the unique muscle structure of the animal. All right, here's a question now. Back in the 1950s, there was a series of 7 movies about a talking mule. What was the name of that mule in the movies?
Francis.
That is right. I was going to make it true or false,
Multiple choice.
multiple guess. The multiple choices were Frank, Ferdinand, Francis, and Felix.
I remember watching those
Francis
movies when
the
I was
Talking
younger.
Mule. Let me read you what I said. The film series focused on the exploits of Francis, an experienced army mule, and Peter Sterling, the young soldier whom he befriends. Francis then strays with Peter through civilian life and back in the military. Now get this. The mule was trained by Les Hilton. Hilton went on to train Bamboo Harvester, the horse that played Mr. Ed. So the same guy that trained Francis for the mules, you remember Mr. Ed, the TV, so
Well,
he also trained Mr. Ed.
It's hard to teach an animal to talk.
Well, did you ever wonder how did they get that horse to move his lips, remember?
I don't know. Give him an apple?
No. Hilton used a thread fed into the animal's mouth, which would cause the mule to try to remove it by moving his lips, the same technique used for Mr. Ed. Now, I'm sure animal cruelty rights would probably throw a fit if they found that out today, but the trainer actually used a thread in the horse's mouth to cause him to do that.
I guess they're doing progress outside now, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds like it. I hope my
Yeah.
van's not parked in the wrong spot. I never know where to park right now.
I know.
All right, last question I have for you. Now, this one you need to get. When and how did the athletic teams of Fairfield Community High School come to be known as the Mules? Now, this you need to know, Mark. If you're going to continue to do mules,
I would say, I'm going to say 1912.
I have no idea.
And how? Because I'm just shooting from the hip here. All right.
You were a little bit too far back.
Too far back?
Yeah.
Okay. 1935, they were in a football game, and defense was really good, and they were stubborn at giving the other team ground.
Well, you're getting close, okay? The answer is the year 1926. Now this was supplied to me, by the way, by a member of the Fairfield High School, what's it called? The Alumni Association.
Okay.
And they meet every year. Let me read what he sent to me. The mule mascot came into existence 3 years prior to the start of the North Egyptian Conference. In the fall of 1926, our mascot was born during a football game against Olney. The man credited with giving the athletic teams this name was a sports writer for the Wayne County Press and Wayne County Record newspapers, Mr. Merrill Hunter. It is reported that during the game, Mr. Hunter observed that Fairfield was really kicking Olney around like mules. Thus, the name stuck and has been proudly accepted by the past and present staff, students, and fans. Since that day, over 77 years ago, the name Mules and FCHS have been synonymous. It has changed faces throughout the years, but remains stubborn and headstrong through all the ribbing from other squads. Although the NEC will no longer exist, the Mules will last forever. Below are appearances, well, but anyway, I also would tell you, before they became the Mules in 1926, the Fairfield High School team was called the Barefoot Boys. The Barefoot Boys is what the team was called before
Really?
Is
1926.
that because they didn't wear shoes?
I don't know. I haven't found that out. But that's what the Fairfield High School teams, athletic teams were called back in
The Barefoot Boys.
The Barefoot Boys. And in 1926, because of what this sports writer for the Wayne County Press and Wayne County Record wrote, they started calling them the Mules because of the way they were kicking Olney around out there on the field.
Well, thank goodness they changed the name, because Barefoot Boys Nation doesn't have the same ring as
yeah.
Mule Nation.
One of the players on that 1926 team was Glenn Abe Martin. He was on the team, the first, by the way, to win an NEC Conference Championship, 1926. He also played one season for the Chicago Cardinals NFL team in 1932. He went on to become athletic director down at SIU Carbondale.
I thought the name sounded familiar,
Yep.
Abe Martin.
Yeah. So they were the Barefoot Boys before 1926,
The BBs.
and then they became the Fairfield Mules after
Okay.
that.
I'd love to see, I guess maybe go to the Historical Society and see if they have old Barefoot Boy logos or anything, you know, if they have any records.
Maybe some video.
Yeah.
They probably, you would have to go back. My experience in doing research is the best source for anything you're looking for is old newspapers. And I would think that the library would have on file old copies of the Wayne County Press, the Wayne County Record.
Right.
And there were several other newspapers that existed here in Fairfield in addition to the Wayne County Press. I can't remember all the names of them. I think there was the Wayne County Record, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very cool.
Question of the day was intriguing.
Yeah, I didn't even bring that up yet.
Yeah.
Let's see. Pull up my answers here. I didn't even answer it this week either.
Really?
Yeah. What thing are you too old to do but still do?
Where do I start?
Right?
depends on who you ask.
Play volleyball.
Actually, the question is worded wrong. It
Yeah.
should be, what things are you too old to do but still try to do?
Right.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to put it.
CJ Reeser said, pretend I could be mistaken for a college student on campus, which I remember going back to Carbondale with her like maybe a year or two after we graduated from college. And it was alumni weekend, and there was kids there, you know, and they're like, oh, thanks for coming back. And we're like,
How did
we
you know?
just graduated, you know, like we're not that old. But my mother-in-law said mow the ditches. We have some steep ditches out there on
And
the
that's
East Highway.
dangerous.
It is. She has to wear
Especially if you got a zero till.
well, and she push mows it because you cannot ride. My father-in-law's tried a time or two and likes to get stuff stuck, but she has to wear cleats, basically.
Yeah,
or
you don't
football
want to do that
cleats.
with the slippery soles on your
No.
shoes because you can slip under that mower.
Kira Vincent said dance, and we said, you're actually never too old to dance. Keep on dancing, Kira. Avery said sleep in and procrastinate. And Judy Ellis Molinek said sub at school. So I'm sure a lot of substitute teachers can relate to that. Mine's probably jump on the trampoline. My kids like for me to, jump on the trampoline, and I try to do the back, lay downs and flips and all that stuff, and then
See-
I'm sore the next day.
We, besides trying to play volleyball,
Yeah,
sand volleyball.
sand volleyball.
If it were mud volleyball, it might be a different story.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I attempted to play dodgeball at a trampoline park. Wasn't a pretty sight. I think I went down before I even got hit.
Oh my gosh.
I remember in my grade school days, they would sometimes put an older student in charge of the recess for us younger grades. And I remember that there's no way they would let this happen in schools today. But this guy would line us up against the wall and throw these rubber balls at it as hard as he could,
Oh
trying to
my
hit
gosh.
us. Yeah. He called it dodgeball, but
You didn't
know,
get a
dodgeball
dodge?
you can throw back and forth as opponents, you know. But in this,
I would think that would be called target practice.
Yeah.
and it was. you know.
Sounds like it.
Some of the slower acted kids, they were really whopped up pretty hard sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hate that. Well, thank you, Dave, for joining
Yeah,
us.
appreciate
Another
it. Anytime.
Good
Anytime.
show with you. We appreciate you being here, and thank you guys all for joining us at home and tuning in for another episode of It's a Beautiful Day in Fairfield. We'll be back on Friday with Mindy Odie
Yep.
with feeding kids of Wayne County. So we're super excited to talk with her on Friday. But yeah, everyone have a beautiful weekend, and we will see you on Friday morning.